Hey guys, welcome back to Unqualified Critics as always with news on home arcades. Today we're covering some interviews that Arcade1up has done over the last few days. Put the summary all in one place for you. I hope you enjoy the video, and if you want to know more and you want to hear the full interview, certainly if you haven't already, click through below. We're covering the 1UP Weekly interview and also a YouTuber called Get Connected Media. I've not been familiar with them. Their name's a little bit of a mouthful, but hey, who am I to talk? My name's a little bit of a mouthful too. Check them out, watch the videos, but let's go through what we learned and what I think is really newsworthy coming out of these discussions. First off, Arcade1up is about to hit 2 million cabinets sold. They hit 1 million earlier in 2020. They're about to hit 2 million already. The growth rate is amazing. That's much faster than I would have predicted. I was skeptical just months ago how sustainable this was. Would it be hard to maintain shelf space with all the different competitors now vying to sell their product into stores? I don't have any doubts for now. I think Arcade1up has cemented itself for at least a couple years to really be the leader in the home arcade space for the foreseeable future. The Kickstarter was a huge success, $1 million in 25 days. It was one of just under 500 Kickstarter offerings to ever hit that checkpoint. You may have your opinion on whether or not a company like Arcade1up should even be on Kickstarter, and that's a valid discussion to have, but be that as it may, they were successful. It was also hinted, and of course the Kickstarter was for the Infinity Games table, it was hinted that licensed Monopoly variants, so Fortnite was named as one, I think Game of Thrones was tossed out as one, that might be coming in the future. We know they want to provide future game offerings. We know we have that online store infrastructure. So what are we going to get? Well, surely new board games, but maybe licensed variants of existing board games. Next up, thinking about some new products that we might get. Zohar will be excited to see something shortly. That was John D's attempt at being kind of sneaky that clearly they're doing a new Mortal Kombat cabinet. Guys, are you kidding me? I know 2022 is technically the anniversary date, but forget about it. 2021, you're going to see an online Mortal Kombat. I am absolutely convinced. Also, and this was according to, I think this was John in the interview, you're going to see interesting surprises in Q1 of 2021. They're going to be announcing new cabinets at CES, specifically 4 or 5 new cabinets. And he said that right after he talked about driving games and shooting games. I think we're going to see some of those at CES. I think we're going to see a driving game and a shooting game that appeal to that core arcade audience. But when is Pinball coming? That's the biggest story right now in arcade gaming in the home. Star Wars Pinball will be in consumer hands late January to early February. Attack from Mars pre-orders will open up mid-January, but maybe bleed into early February. These things are always given as a range. That was true with the iArcade launch too, because at the end of the day, you just can't account for when these things are being shipped. And Attack from Mars pre-orders are not going to open until shipments are received. Speaking of shipments, there are 2 pinball shipments that are en route from China. These were not the ones that ended up at the bottom of the ocean. So apparently that wasn't Pinball. Maybe that was Outrun or some other cabinets. I don't know, but it was not Pinball. John was really clear about that. So get hype, get ready. Star Wars Pinball is coming soon. And then Attack from Mars not long after. Another question was, what about Outrun, the stand-up cabinet? When are we going to get that? Sometime in the first quarter was the answer. All right, so why was Pinball delayed if it's not in the bottom of the ocean? Well, the answer, and Mel was there from Zen Studios to speak to this, and I was so glad he was on this interview. They said, we found problems with marrying the software to the hardware. It was much more ambitious a project than we thought. I'm kind of summarizing here, but we were committed to fixing it and optimizing everything. We did not want to compromise the quality of experience for the consumer. Apparently, Zen Studios and Arcade1up both dramatically underestimated the challenge of getting the pinball physics right with all the different features, all with a PCB that can be part of a $500 product, but they got it right. One such issue, I thought this was kind of notable, the software would lock up if you left the cabinet on for 8 hours in the background, and Arcade1up owners, including myself, like to leave cabinets on in the background. And if you're going to do that, you'd get a lockup. And they wanted to fix that, and that took them 6 weeks to track down that issue and fix it. So it was a big, ambitious product. They underestimated it, but at the end of the day, it's only been delayed a couple months. If they deliver the level of quality they say they're going to deliver, it'll be well worth it, but time will tell. I won't trust it till I play with one myself. but something tells me these are going to be exciting. Earlier in the interview, I think it was the CEO of the company in an interview said this is the best product they've ever done. It's a big statement, but let's wait and see. Moving on, Outrun, a cabinet that a lot of you have been enjoying. I see comments all the time about people who picked up Outrun and love it. And they did mention, of course, the stand-up version of Outrun's coming in Q1 of 2021. But what's the Easter egg? Well, you probably know by now it was Rad Rally. That was announced, I don't know, a week or so ago. It's another Sega racing game. I think that brings it to 5 racing games on that cabinet. 2 comments. Number 1, it is for sure the Easter egg. There's not some other Easter egg. John was pretty clear about that in his interview. 2, I like this strategy of giving us more games than we signed up for. I hope they continue to do that with other cabinets. Kind of a cool way to surprise and delight your customers. They didn't necessarily buy in for that game. They were already sold with the original games list, like I was with the Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet. This is now 2 cabinets where they've given us bonus games, at least 2 that I know. Maybe there were more. I hope they continue to do this. Next up, there was a long Q&A session. And again, I'm not going to cover everything, but here's the stuff I thought was the most important. The one question that I loved, and I've been touting this since forever, since the product was launched, is why, for the love of God, does Arcade1up Pinball not have online connectivity? And Mel especially gave really good answers to this. If we do an online experience, it has to be good. And later he said, we have a long-term vision for executing this, but stay tuned. We can't give you a date. We don't know when we can deliver it, but we're going to deliver it. So I think really we are going to get online. I think they're satisfied that this is going to be a successful launch, and I agree, and we're going to get it. I can't wait, but again, stay tuned. Mel also reconfirmed the pinball roadmap from Arcade1up is exciting. Lots coming down the road, and I just wanted to make sure I reported on that because I previously speculated since Zen Studios got bought out, the press release behind that acquisition did not mention pinball at all. I thought that was interesting. Are they maybe abandoning pinball? The answer is nope. We're doing a lot with pinball. It's going to be bigger and better, so that's exciting. Okay, when questions were asked about new products, that's what really matters. We're going to get announcements in January for CES, and as I mentioned, 4 or 5 new cabinets, and maybe some other new products thrown in too, but certainly 4 or 5 new cabinets, which is what I really care about. Another question near and dear to my heart, will Star Wars Trilogy be coming out sooner rather than later? The answer was no sooner than 2022 at the very earliest because it's just resource intensive to emulate and they got to be able to have a chipset that can do it and a product that's under $500. And that was a common theme with a lot of these game questions. But it wasn't true for Golden Tee. We're going to get, I think, a new Golden Tee in 2021. John's answer was possibly, but I think we all can kind of read between the lines on that. It won't have Silver Strike bowling, but it will have other bowling games, or at least a bowling game. And why get into that detail if you're not doing a Golden Tee? I think we really are going to see a new one finally next year. I can't wait. The next question was, what about hardware for 3D graphics? Well, John rightly answered, Big Buck Hunter is a 3D game, so we've actually already broken that barrier. There already is a 3D polygonal game, Arcade1up, but he said more are coming soon, and he specifically identified Model 2, which I take to mean the Sega Model 2 board. What games are on the Sega Model 2? Well, most notably Daytona USA, Virtua Cop, and House of the Dead, although there were others. Mark my words, I think at CES we're going to get an announcement for at least one of those 3 games. And really, I think we're going to either see Daytona USA or House of the Dead. Maybe we'll see both, but I think we're going to at least see one of those. So check it and we'll see. Next question, Dragon's Lair. A lot of buzz lately because iArcade's Dragon Lair I think looks like a really good product. It's a little pricey, but it's very premium hardware. Well, when Arcade1up does a Dragon's Lair, is it going to look like the original cabinet? John's answer was yes. I hope that means the same geometric design for the marquee. I don't know if that's what it means. That wasn't specifically identified in the interview, I don't think, but I really hope it does. Also, Code Mystics is doing the software for it, but it may not have the original ROM. They may not be able to emulate the original source code. That's interesting because John talked a lot of noise about bringing the original game, but he did say it'll be the 4x3 version, not the cropped out 16x9 remaster. All right, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He said, we have the rights to it. It's just a matter of getting it down to a $500 price point for hardware that can emulate it. MVC2 is a very demanding game. It ran on Sega's Naomi board, which is way newer than Sega Model 2, and we haven't even seen Model 2 yet. So clearly the earliest we're going to get that is 2022. I personally would not be surprised if it's 23 before we start seeing Naomi products in the home, but man, I cannot wait. When asked about upgrade kits for taking an existing cabinet, swap it in a new PCB, or somehow upgrading it to have more games, the answer was, we'll see. Clearly, they're worried about cannibalizing cabinet sales. I think the middle ground they're giving us are a couple extra games here or there, but they don't really want us upgrading these cabinets. They want us buying new ones. Speaking of updates, though, all Miss Pac-Mans, except the Countercade, will get the dip switch update. I can't wait. The cocktail cabinet's something I've covered a lot, and it doesn't have the dip switch update yet, although it does have Mappy added to it as a new game. Another couple games that were specifically asked about, Virtua Cop and Time Crisis. The answer was coming soon. It's on the roadmap. Alien vs. Predator, I love this question. Is that cost prohibitive to license? Because, of course, Alien vs. Predator being a movie property. He said, no, it is not cost prohibitive. I think we're going to see AVP this year. I don't know if it'll be its own cabinet or part of a larger cabinet, but that's exciting. It's a fantastic game. I play it on my Legends Ultimate a decent amount. Very good game. If you have a Legends Ultimate, I recommend you add it to that cabinet. Final question I want to cover. Well, I don't know if it's a question, more of a comment, but John said there is a professional line coming. Stay tuned. More information soon. Hopefully that means more information at CES. And hopefully that means brand name controls, because I'm going to break a little bit with the 1UP Weekly guys. But I'll tell you, they left them off the hook, especially Justin, on the brand name controls. I think they've given up on that. Well, that's fine for the $300, $400, $500 products. Somehow that can't work. I have opinions on that, but it doesn't really matter, so I'm not going to go into that. However, if we're talking about a professional line, a high-end line, better be breaking out those professional tier commercial grade controls. That's just the most important thing. If you're going to call an arcade professional, the one thing I think you got to have are commercial grade controls. I hope they bring that to the table. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit like. If you want to stay up to date on home arcade news and product reviews, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, consider hitting that join button to support the channel, and thanks so much for watching.
Dripping lights paint the sky.